Hey, what's up guys? Gids here for another Summoners War Chronicles video. And today we're going to be talking about 5 things that beginners need to know when playing the game. I'm doing this video because I realized that there are actually a lot of players that have never played Sky Arena. So they're not familiar with the rune system, they're not familiar with the monsters, and some other stuff that a lot of players new to the game would actually need. Okay, so yeah, if this video helps, leave a like, comment if you have any additional stuff, and subscribe if you haven't yet. Anyway, let's go ahead and start. To start off, we're going to talk about runes because I think runes is one of the more important parts of strengthening your monsters. So essentially, runes are these things that you equip on your monsters. There are two types of runes. So there are set of 4 and set of 2 runes. Okay, so you can see here it says set of 2 and then some says set of 4. What does this mean? So basically, if you equip 2 of these kinds of runes, you're going to get this bonus. So for example, for energy runes, if you equip 2 energy runes, then you're going to get an additional 15% max HP. If you equip 2 sets of guard runes or 2 pieces of guard runes, then you're going to receive 15% defense. And same goes with set of 4. It means you need to equip 4. Okay, 4 runes. And then as you can see here, we have 6 slots or 6 rune slots for your runes. So you can either go for 2 2 2, 3 sets of 2s, right? Or go for a 4 2, right? So a 4 set plus a 2 set. The combination can vary a lot, right? There's a lot of combinations that you can do, but mostly you can see that mostly for DPSs, you're going to find Rage, Swift, probably even Vampire later on. Rage, Swift, Fatal, Vampire mostly are going to be your rune sets for your DPS, and then for your supports, you're usually going to have Energy, Guard, Focus for the ones that you need debuffs to hit, and also where is it, Foresight, right? So these 2 sets are usually mostly used for your supports, but of course after you put on your 4 set, what are you gonna put for your last 2, right? So usually for the DPS, you're using Blade. Sometimes you can just go with Energy or Guard or whichever stat is the best for your monsters. So now let's talk about the rune sets. Okay, so if you've played Sky Arena, you should already know this and you can just probably skip this part. But if you have never played Sky Arena, then here's some things that you need to know about the rune slots. So you have 6 rune slots and each of them have actually specific stats. So for example, runes 1, 3, and 5 are actually fixed. So the main stat will always be this thing up here. So if you click on them, they have different main stats. So, and then these are the substats. Okay, so for slot 1, it's always going to be attack. Flat attack. We call this one flat attack. So it's always going to be flat attack. So it doesn't matter what kind of slot 1 rune that you have, as long as the substats are good, you are good to go. Next is for rune number 3, slot 3, you always have defense. Okay, flat defense. Okay, so again, doesn't matter what rune you get as long as the substats are good. And then for rune number 5 or slot 5, you're always going to have a flat HP stat over here. Okay, so those are the 3 slots that are fixed. Now 2, 4, and 6 are the things that you will usually hear people whenever you ask them for runes, right? So if you're asking people how do you build this unit, they're usually going to say speed, crit damage, attack, or they're going to say HP, 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 or HP defense, HP, or something of a variation like that, or just attack, crit damage, attack. So what does that mean? They're usually just talking about slots 2, 4, and 6. So if you said attack, crit damage, attack, it just means that you should have attack percent. Always look for attack percent, okay? Flat stats are not good here, okay? So if it's just attack and not attack percent, it's usually not good. It's good for early game, but later on in the game, percentage attack is going to be much better, or percentages are always going to be better than the flat stats, okay? So if you said attack, crit damage, attack, then that just means it's attack percent on slot 2, crit damage on slot 4, and attack percent on slot 6. Okay, so one unique thing with the slot number 2 over here is that it's the only rune where you can find attack speed. Okay, it's the only rune where you can find attack speed, but you can still have attack percent, defense percent, and HP percent as main stats. Why is it important to look for the main stats? It's because it's the one that gets powered up whenever you enhance, right? When you enhance one time, it's the main stat that gets upgraded every single plus, right? That's why it's very important. Now, for slot number 4, this is where you can find crit rate, crit damage. So crit rate and crit damage is unique for slot number 4, but still you can find attack percent, HP percent, and defense percent on these slots. And of course, all the other bad stats as well, like the flat stats, right? So usually you're going to see crit damage here for damage dealers as long as you have a good enough crit rate, because crit damage is actually a huge multiplier, damage multiplier that lets your monsters hit hard like a truck. And then slot 6, as you can see, usually it's attack percent for DPS, and then some unique stats that you can put on here are, I think, resistance percent and accuracy percent. Okay, but both are not really that useful unless you're putting it on a tank or support. But usually HP percent and defense percent is always just going to be better for tanks and support. Anyway, so yeah, so that's all the things that you need to look out for runes. Okay, so if you're trying to roll for runes and you can't find the specific runes that you were looking for, then I recommend going back. Okay, so specific to slot 2 is speed, specific to slot 4 is crit rate, crit damage, and specific to slot 6 is resistance and accuracy. Okay, and then all of them can have attack percent, HP percent, defense percent. Okay, so yeah, that's for the runes. And next question is, or next tip for you guys is, how do you actually farm these? Right, so the main way to farm this one is to go to Path of Growth and Path of Adventure. So you can see here the drops are actually over here, but you're actually not going to get good runes until you probably hit level these things over here, 12, 13, and 14, right, for the chance to get 5-star legendary runes. But how are you actually going to make a build up going up there? So one easy way is to actually farm this guy over here, this boss golem over here in the last area of the map, Rukorangna, right? So how do you get to this guy? You can actually just go to your book, go to monster book, and click on creature book. Wait, I'm blocking it. Go to creature book over here, and click on the last area over here and click on this guy, right? So click on this guy and you can click on location. So once you do that one, there you go, it will show up the map and it will show that this guy is found over here, and you can just move to the boss golem over here. You can also try to fight this guy. It's another boss monster, but the problem with fighting this guy is that they have an invincibility buff, which is very annoying unless you have a monster that strips buffs very efficiently or frequently, right? So I recommend just farming this boss golem. And what this boss golem does is that he drops 4-star hero legend or hero grade runes, right? So it's 4-star foresight, this thing, foresight and swift runes. So if you're ever going to AFK and you're not going to do repeat quests, then this is a good way for you to farm some runes, because some of these runes are actually really good. Like for example, these ones over here, there are some decent ones here. HP percent, attack percent right here, that's a foresight rune, right? So you can actually use these ones and just upgrade them to +9, +12, and you'll be able to grind up the Path of Adventure dungeons later on. So you're going to try to build up your monsters through this way in the beginning, right? So you can see a lot of my runes are actually coming from those, right? So a lot of the hero grade runes that I'm using are just drops from over here, right? So it's a really good way to farm runes, and I think a lot of people are already doing this as well. So if you spot people on the area, it's okay. I think sometimes it's okay to share, but if you really don't want to share, then here's my third tip, right? So as I was saying, there will be also a lot of players that will be farming these bosses over here, but yeah, as long as you just participated in killing the boss monster, you'll be able to get a drop. So you don't need to worry about people trying to steal your bosses. The only problem is that if they kill it as fast as they can and you can't participate, then that's bad for you, right? You will not be able to get the drops. But anyways, if that's a problem for you, you can actually look for other spots in the game as well. So like for example, just click on the map and look at the creatures. So if you see any bosses over here, then that's probably a good location. But I think there's one that I found over here. Yeah, it's over here. I think it's around this part over here. Um, creature. Yeah, it's this Hellfiend Inferno over here. So this is also a boss monster. You can just try to look around on the map in Rukurangma for any of the other boss monsters. But if you don't want to do that, there's another way you can do, which is our tip number 3. You can actually channel hop, right? You can actually switch channels into channels that have more or less people in the channel, because usually there can be 50 people in one channel, and it can be very, very crowded in the area. So for example, here we're on channel 2. So the way you can do this is click on your map, click on your channel, right? So right now you can see we're 50 people in channel 2. That's very crowded. I don't like it. You can go to channel 10, right? There's an arrow key over here to select your channel, and I want to move to channel 10. So I think you have a cooldown of, I don't know, it's 90 seconds or I don't remember if it's 90 seconds. Let's check. Oh, it's actually around 100. It's around 2 minutes. Okay, it's around 2 minutes. So since I transferred channels, there is now less people in this channel, and I'm the only one farming this area. This is also going to be very, very useful when you're going to start farming or doing your professions over here, like gathering and mining, because there will be a lot of people that could be gathering in the area, and you're going to have a hard time trying to farm the materials because they're always going to be empty, or you're not going to find the nodes that you need. So this is going to be a very useful tip for everyone who wants to farm peacefully. That's your tip number 3. Okay. Next up is tip number 4, which is going to be a very simple one and something unrelated to the other first 3, which is going to be arena. So if you look in the arena shop, there's one thing that is a must buy here every week: Devilmon. 5-star Devilmon, 4-star Devilmon is good as well, but 5-star Devilmon should be a priority. And this one costs 500 arena coins, which is probably hard to get if you're trying to grind arena the normal way, right? But an easy way to actually grind arena is to set up a weak defense. So if you look at my defense team actually over here, I only have 1 unit setup, right? I only have 1 unit. The reason why is that I want my ranking to be low. You don't want it to be really high, because when you set it up as very high, then you're going to have a tough time fighting with other players that have a really high team power. So when you do it this way, and you might be able to encounter other people setting it up the same way as well, like this one, you're making it easier for you to actually farm arena coins, right? So you just enter the battle, quick battle, and then get easy coins, right? So this is actually in the long run going to help so much more players, and it helps you really farm more arena coins, and it's going to benefit everyone basically, right? It's going to be much easier to farm the coins, because yeah, unless you're a whale and you're trying to go for the higher tiers, right? If you're trying to climb top 100, maybe you're trying to get to top 100, which is not possible for most of us, then just do this one. Make it easier for yourself to farm, right? You're going to find much weaker opponents. You'll be able to use all your attacks much more frequently, and yeah, you're still going to be ranking up, right? Just by attacking, and let the defense do its thing, right? You don't need to care about your defense actually, right? You're still going to get decent rewards. Not the best, but it's okay, because the main focus for you as a free-to-play player is to get the skill ups for your monsters over here. So once you get this one's your weekly, then you can probably look at the other stuff over here, but usually it's not really worth it. Just go for the Devilmons, right? Once you have a surplus, you can get the legendary scrolls, mystical scrolls, and 4-star Devilmons, but prioritize the 5-star Devilmon over here. Okay? Next up. Okay. And lastly, for your tip number 5 is going to be something that something that's not been really much of a focus for other MMOs out there. So usually you see combat powers, power scores, right? PS, CP, all those kinds of things that are being are terminologies that are being thrown around, and usually you know that those things are indicators of how strong your account is, your character is. So the main point with that is that usually people are saying that stats matter and it's not the score, but in this game, the score actually matters, right? The score actually matters because whenever you go to any dungeon, you're going to have buffs or debuffs based on the power, total team power, right? Total power of your whole team. So, for example, this one, if you're higher or your team power is higher than enemy power, then you're going to receive a bonus that gives your team a 25% bonus damage and 25% damage reduction from the whole dungeon. But if you lessen, you probably select weaker monsters over here. We're still at the bonus. Let's look for a weaker one. Okay, it's my character that's super strong. Anyways, yeah, if we try to look, let's try to look for a dungeon that I've... Okay, so for example here, so if we change this one, right? So if your team is slightly, probably 10 to 20k, I'm not sure if it's 10 to 20k power behind or below the suggested or the enemy power, then it's going to be slightly hard, which means there's no bonus, zero bonus. But if you are down really bad, so if the gap is really high, then you're going to have a very hard, and you're going to have a penalty over here. So this one is a huge penalty. Damage taken by your team is increased by 50% and your damage dealt will be halved. But if we increase this for a bit, let's use a 4-star. There you go. So this one's much harder now. So it just says hard. So it's now not very hard. So the penalty is now dropped to 25%. Right. So this is something that you have to keep in mind. That's why sometimes you actually need to be building for just the power score. And sometimes you can just try to build teams based on their elements to get bonus power, right? So for example, this one, if you're using the right element, then your team is actually going to get, or your monster is going to get an additional power boost when facing this dungeon. Even your main character over here actually. So my summoner is equipped with a water weapon, then I'm getting a bonus of 7,000 power over here. But if I switch that over to fire, and we go over to Kairos and go to Hall of Fire again, level 8, then you can see here that I don't have the bonus anymore. What's more, if you use your earth weapon, of course that's a disadvantage, right? Then you're going to receive the negative points over here, right? So your total power score is going lower. So again, it's very, very good to actually take advantage of the elemental advantage for your monsters and for your summoner as well. Okay, so that's pretty much it for me on this video. If you learned something, again, press like, share, subscribe if you haven't yet, and leave down in the comments below if there's anything else that you need help with, or if you have additional tips that you want to share with everyone. Again, thank you very much for watching, and see you again next time. Bye-bye.